Let me ask you something quietly powerful. When was the last time you felt your birthday? Not just noticed it, not just replied thanks, but actually felt it the way you did when you were a child. When balloons meant magic, when cake meant belonging, and when a single day felt like the universe had chosen you. Then somewhere along the way, adulthood arrived. And the same date that once felt sacred now slips by like any other Tuesday. You wake up, scroll through a few notifications, maybe answer a call, maybe not. You tell people, I don't really celebrate anymore. You say, it's just another day. But is it? Because beneath that calm tone, there's often a quiet story. People who treat their birthday like a normal day aren't cold or detached. Often, they're the most reflective ones, the ones who once cared deeply and learned slowly that expectation can sting. They've trained their hearts to stay steady, even when excitement once led to disappointment. Psychologically, birthdays are emotional mirrors. They reflect more than age. They reflect how we feel about being alive. They show us how comfortable we are with attention, how safe we feel being seen. So when someone says, I don't care about my birthday, sometimes they mean, I don't need validation. But sometimes, it means, I stopped expecting it. There's a difference between maturity and emotional withdrawal, and birthdays quietly reveal which one we've chosen. Some people truly grow out of birthday excitement, not out of sadness, but out of peace. They found meaning in ordinary mornings, in daily routines, in quiet gratitude. For them, life itself became the celebration. But for others, birthdays carry something heavier. Not anxiety about age, but memory, echoes of moments when they felt invisible. Maybe they cared once and it hurt. So now instead of saying, I hope someone remembers, they whisper, it's just another day. That's not indifference. That's emotional self-protection. When the mind faces disappointment too often, it starts lowering the bar. You teach yourself not to hope too loudly. You trade anticipation for control. It's how the brain protects your peace, but over time, that same protection can dull your joy. And then you find yourself walking through your own life like a guest at someone else's party, polite, composed, but quietly distant. Think about how many people say, I don't do birthdays, and still later that night, replay who did or didn't reach out. Even pretending not to care is a way of caring. Psychologists call it avoidant validation behavior, convincing yourself you don't need recognition because you fear not getting it. So when someone shrugs off their birthday, remember, it's not detachment. It's adaptation. They've learned that control feels safer than expectation. But control comes with a cost, because even the calmest hearts still want to be seen. Birthdays symbolize existence itself, a reminder that you matter simply because you exist. That truth can be both beautiful and uncomfortable. Because every birthday also whispers, time is moving. And sometimes that realization feels heavier than candles or cake. As kids, birthdays connected us to belonging. As adults, they confront us with reflection. You start asking, am I who I thought I'd be by now? That quiet comparison, between who you were and who you are, is what psychologists call temporal self-awareness. It's not apathy. It's introspection. It's your mind asking for space to process your own timeline. And that's okay. Maybe you're one of the givers, the reliable ones who remember everyone else's day but forget your own. Over time, your birthday stops feeling personal. You're not sure how to react if someone plans something for you. It feels awkward to be celebrated. But that's not humility, that's emotional fatigue. Even the most self-sufficient souls still crave to be seen. Not for what they do, but for who they quietly are. Because no matter how independent we become, there's still a small unspoken hope. I hope someone remembers. Not with a grand gesture, just with sincerity. And that's the paradox of growing up. You can be content and still crave connection. You can be peaceful and still miss the thrill of being noticed. So if your birthday feels ordinary, if it looks like coffee, work, messages, and silence, maybe that's not emptiness. Maybe that's evolution. Because somewhere along the road, you stopped needing permission to feel good about being alive. You began to define joy on your own terms, not in candles and confetti, but in quiet alignment. That's what psychologists call self-concordant meaning, when your actions finally match your values. When your happiness doesn't depend on applause. Still, even in that peace, there's room for tenderness. Because sometimes the people who say, "I don't care," are the same ones who remember your moments, who hold space for your celebrations, who keep others warm while standing quietly in the background. And those people deserve light, too. They deserve to be reminded that they matter, not for being strong, but simply for being. So if you ever feel that quiet ache on your birthday, the kind that doesn't shout but hums under your chest, that's not sadness. That's your heart reminding you that connection still matters. You're not ungrateful for feeling that way. You're human. Because birthdays aren't about perfection or attention, they're about presence. They're checkpoints of consciousness, small pauses that whisper, "You're still here. You're still learning. You're still becoming." And maybe that's the real celebration, not noise, not parties, not posts, but awareness. The deep breath between years where you simply say, "We made it." So if your birthday feels like just another day, honor that. Because what you're really saying is, my life is already full enough to not need one day to prove it. That's not detachment. That's gratitude in disguise. But when someone remembers, let them. Let them say your name. Let them remind you that you matter. Because you do. Even on quiet days. Especially then.